205. Still alive.
Woo!
Oh.
You didn't like the
No,
woo?
I lost track. I did that Stay Live bit.
Yeah, you did.
The All the Books show.
Yeah.
Recorded at the David A. Howe Public Library, where we talk book news, author news, and literary news. And we also talk to authors from across the pond.
We sure do.
Yeah.
We're going to be
talking.
talking. Yeah.
It's a full ocean.
Oh, thank
the Atlantic.
you. I'm glad that you clarified because it can be misleading.
Back in my hometown of Haverhill, Massachusetts.
Yes.
We had ponds.
Yeah.
And if somebody was just across that pond,
that'd be easy.
I would just be like, "How's it going?" And they
you could throw a frisbee.
Yeah, we could play frisbee.
We could not throw a frisbee to Lauren James, the author that we're talking to today, because she is in the UK. So
yes,
but we did have a great interview with Lauren. She's the author of many books, including The Loneliest Girl in the Universe, which is our YA for Adults book club that we're focusing on this month. So we had a great chat with her, and we're going to get into that a little later.
Question:
Yes,
is frisbee an international sport, or is it just like bros in American colleges? Like
I don't know.
If we went across the pond to play frisbee,
wait, a literal pond or the ocean?
The ocean.
The ocean. Okay, yes.
Are they playing frisbee in UK?
Well, that's a question we should have put to Lauren James, but we didn't.
I just didn't have it.
We
planned,
didn't.
Yeah.
We talked about other things.
I'll look it up right now. You keep introing stuff.
I will. Yes, so we're going to talk about our bookmark right now. This is the part of the show where we tell you what we've been reading and tell you what we think of it. I had a pretty productive week, mostly in comic books and graphic novels, because I somehow threw out my back because I'm 150 years old and was pretty much stuck on a couch. So I read a lot of comic books, so I just condensed to the ones that I think would be maybe the most interesting. And so I'm going to talk about that. Are you ready for me to talk about my bookmark, Eric?
I guess it's in the Olympics. Ultimate Frisbee.
Ultimate Frisbee is in the Olympics?
It says it's recognized by the International Olympic Committee, eligible for 2024 Olympics.
What a time to be alive.
So
We're living it. Yeah. We're living it right now. I read a lot of 90s Robin comics, including Robin 3000, which was crazy. But I'm not going to talk about that now.
Are there 3,000 Robins, or is it the year 3000?
It's set in the year 3000, so he fights the Battlefield Earth crew. And no, he doesn't really. I finished Night of the Monster Men, which is the rebirth volume of Batman. It's kind of a Batman team book. The first one, which I don't remember what it was called, the first one was really good. Volume 2 here was kind of a clunker, so I didn't like that.
He's always dealing with monster men.
He is.
Batman. Was Hugo Strange in this?
No, he wasn't.
That's okay.
It was just weird, gross monsters. It was a very gross book. We do have it in the collection, though. I read Volume 1 of Justice League Rebirth, Extinction Machines. Again, not a very good book. They couldn't really manage all of the characters. So
not a good run.
It fell pretty flat.
All 7 volumes. Absolute garbage.
Are they?
Yeah.
Really?
I didn't like a single one.
Oh, that's
sorry.
Too bad. That's hard to hear. I'm also reading a lot of Superman and Green Lantern and Aquaman. A lot of things in my DC app. They've gotten it together, so I'm doing a lot of that. So I'll update you as I finish these collections.
Together, DC app.
I read a few regular books. Including, this is a script. I read As You Like It by upcoming, it's never funny. It's never funny to be like an upcoming.
Your email called him Bill Shakespeare.
Maybe you've heard of him, Mr. Bill Shakespeare.
Yeah.
I read As You Like It by William Shakespeare because we're having Shake on the Lake, who they got their start in Perry and they're just branching out. They're
I thought they
were
spreading
like a disease or a fungus. They're going to be doing a production in Angelica. And they're also going to be doing a production right here on our front lawn, thanks to Catherine Ross and many other supporters around the community. The library is partnering with them to bring Shake on the Lake. So we're going to be presenting that August 5th, right out on the front lawn, and that is As You Like It. So I had never read this before. Yeah. I was not really familiar with this story. Do you
I don't know if
at all? Well, I don't know. I feel like this is not going to be a hot take here because this is a very old play, but I feel like Shakespeare, much like cilantro, is a situation where you either like it or you don't.
Cilantro, the food?
Yes. There's no in between. You know what I mean? You either like it or you don't. So for me, I feel like As You Like It, a lot of cleverness, a lot of wittiness in there, which you'd expect from Shakespeare. It's really not a story. I think calling it a story is stretching it a little bit. But I think, stylistically, if you like that, then this will be As You Like It. But for me, Shakespeare tastes like soap. I also read Being John Lennon by Ray Connolly.
I guess I thought As You Like It had been adapted into some kind of like teen comedy.
I don't think it has.
I can't find one.
No.
So there's a 2006 film by Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah.
That's
I don't think it's one of the...
Yeah,
there's not a ton of adaptations.
Bryce Dallas Howard. She's not
really
British. Yeah.
That's true. Being John Lennon by Ray Connolly. So there are lots of John Lennon biographies out there.
Is this about an up-and-coming musical artist?
There are a lot out there. There are a lot that are much more detailed and much more... I don't want to say scholarly, but I guess that's maybe true. But that's not a dig at this book. It's just
Okay.
some of the books are really, really put a lot in, like, on Tuesday, July 19th of this year, this exact thing happened. And this was a little bit more of an overview, a little bit more, kind of more of an intimate, nuanced look. And as somebody who's read Beatle biographies and Lennon biographies, I know the story. So I didn't really need like a step-by-step hand-holding kind of thing. So I really appreciated the author's approach to this. He knew John Lennon. He's a pretty successful...
No one really knows John Lennon.
That's true. Pretty successful rock biographer. He has a well-received Elvis book that came out a few years back. But this, to me, I thought was a much more personal account, and actually one that left me feeling sad and upset, because Lennon's post-Beatle life and career are just mired in Yoko Ono and bad decisions and heroin.
You could have just said bad decisions.
You're right.
You didn't have to lay them all out there
You're
for
right.
everyone.
And so that it ends on such a, like, man, if only kind of thing, So, and I have not been impacted like that on the other Lennon things that I've read before. So I think that's a testament to Ray Connolly's writing and the approach he took as someone who knew him and is also a fan of the Beatles. So this was well done. I thought it was fair to everybody. It didn't villainize Paul McCartney as Philip Norman would do. It didn't really even villainize Yoko Ono. It just kind of stated out the facts. So if you interpreted that as her being villainous, then
history does.
Well, that's just the facts speaking. Please don't sue me, Yoko Ono. And then, on a lighter note, I read Rocket and Groot, Stranded on Planet Strip Mall to my 5-year-old son. So this is a Guardians of the Galaxy book, and it's all just dialogue. You have Groot's dialogue, which consists of him saying, "I am Groot." It has Rocket's dialogue, and then they have a magical tape dispenser that they're going through with. It's a very goofy book. I didn't particularly enjoy it myself, but my son loved it. All the humor worked for him. The illustrations worked for him. Everything was just right. So this is a hardcover, junior-level book. There is a sequel coming out, which I've implored our youth librarian to order for the library so I can read it to my son.
Why are you pointing at me?
But because you're the youth librarian. Head of youth services. Congratulations.
Since when?
It's on your name tag.
Oh, my gosh.
I know. So that's it. That's it for me. I'm currently reading Paths of Disharmony. This is another of the Star Trek Typhon Pact
Yeah, question
books.
about this cover.
Oh, yeah.
Who's this green lady with the spaghetti hair?
Andorian. She's an Andorian.
Okay.
Yep. I haven't really gotten to that part yet.
It looks
I
like
just started
somebody
it.
had a colander of pasta, and just spilled it
Yeah,
on her
well,
head as a prank.
what are you
and
gonna
she's
do?
like, "This is my look now."
So that's so that's me. I also have to read The House on Mango Street for our Around the World book club. I haven't started that one yet. I've got the audiobook, and I've got a couple of long drives, so I'm going to pound through it like that.
How long is the Typhoon Pact? I feel like you've been.
It's a lot of books. It's a long series. It
Okay.
is. It's a long series. I think I'm winding down on that now, but I've got to read The House on Mango Street. I've got a whole list. We've got, I don't know. We've got a lot of stuff. We've got a lot of stuff that we have to do. I also, and this is not book related, but I feel like I want to tell you and some of our listeners who might be interested, I beat Mega Man 2.
That's a big deal.
Classic. Is that Super NES by that point?
No, that's NES.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
sorry I said Super NES.
No, it's
I don't
okay.
know why I did that.
It's fine.
So that's classic NES.
Yeah.
So when do we switch to the Super Nintendo?
Mega Man 7?
7?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
They put out 6 Mega Mans on the Nintendo Entertainment
Wowzer.
System.
Okay.
Mega Man X is born on the Super Nintendo.
Pretty exciting.
So yeah, Mega Man 2 is one of the most loved NES games of all
It's
time.
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And again, I never played Mega Man before.
Yeah.
I played these 2 games, so looking forward to the pack I got has the first 6. I don't know why.
Yeah.
6.
6.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
So,
sense.
That's me. That's what I've been up to.
Mega Man
also,
2 has one of the best soundtracks
Did I
ever.
mention I threw out my back? Because that's been
You did mention you throw it,
very
but
unpleasant.
you probably forgot because you're 150 years
100
old.
150
Yeah.
years old. Yep.
When I threw up my back
All right.
yesterday, we know, Nick.
That's it for me.
Oh.
What have you been up to?
I beat Mega Man 2.
You did not.
No, I didn't.
Well, you
I
did,
mean,
right?
A while ago,
Like
a long time ago.
Early 90s.
Didn't I
maybe?
share the T-shirt story?
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tough times.
I saw a movie,
What'd you see?
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Did you put the pause in there because of the ellipses?
Yeah, because of the ellipses.
Okay.
I don't know how you're supposed
No,
to
I
say it.
appreciated
Yeah.
that. That was good.
So,
And?
it was good.
Okay.
I think I was expecting it to be a little bit funnier on a more consistent basis,
Okay.
but it was funny. It was enjoyable.
Okay.
It was late, so I was a bit tired.
All right.
The ending is brutal, but for different reasons than maybe you might think.
Okay.
So I had my eyes closed during the violence at the end,
Okay.
and I would not open them even if you paid me.
So, do you think I can make it through this movie? So, because I do want to see it, but I'm
I don't know.
very afraid.
I don't think you'd like it.
You don't think I would?
No.
All right.
I think there's a point where you'd want to just stop
Yeah.
have somebody else fast forward and
Yeah.
then summarize.
Okay.
And then hit play, and then
Okay.
you'd be fine.
Okay.
Well, but yeah, I mean the movie's funny. It's enjoyable. My wife really liked it. Leonardo DiCaprio is actually very funny in this.
Okay.
Because he's playing like a washed up television actor. So he used to be like a star of these like old Western, black and white Westerns that were on TV. One called like Bounty Law. Then he tried to have a movie career, and now he's kind of just, people are just casting him as like the villains in new Western
I
shows
see.
as like the heavy.
Right.
So he's trying to
Break
just
free.
doing- right. Brad Pitt's just his like laid back driver who used to be a stuntman.
Okay.
So it's enjoyable.
How was Luke Perry? That's what I really want to know.
It's a very quick cameo.
Quick? How
Yeah,
quick?
very quick.
Like 5 seconds quick?
No,
Like
I mean,
a scene.
Yeah,
He's got a scene.
he's got a scene.
Okay.
I think I would have liked this movie more if it was just about
Luke Perry.
their lives
I know what you mean.
in Hollywood and had nothing to do with the Manson cult.
Yeah, actually, I was kind of late to the table on realizing it was a
Yeah.
Manson movie.
Yeah, it's not a Manson. It's much more about just DiCaprio and Brad Pitt doing
Right.
their Hollywood lives, but the Manson stuff is in there, and I feel like it would have been. I would have enjoyed it more without the Manson stuff.
Okay.
So
Well, maybe I'll see it someday. I don't know.
I read some graphic novels. I read We 3, which is about 3 animals wearing biomechanical suits, and they can also talk. And they get they're freed from the government facility that they're inside of, and they're being chased after. And they unleash some destruction. And then a giant mastiff is released with his own mech suit, and it's vicious and it's a little sad at times. There's a rabbit, a cat, and a dog.
Okay.
And the dog sometimes is like, good dog, because they talk in very abbreviated sentences. So it's like, good dog, question mark.
Right.
It's like, yeah, buddy, you're a good dog.
That's cute.
No.
Kind of sad.
No, it's brutal.
Oh, okay.
There's so much gore.
Oh, jeez.
It's very, the gore is like done in these small boxes, but when you just look at him, you're like, oh my gosh. The cat is, I wouldn't want to deal with a cat in a mech suit.
Okay. Yeah.
reading
No,
this.
no, thank you.
I read We Stand on Guard by, I should have said We 3 was by Grant Morrison, in case you were wondering why it was so weird. But
Now I get it.
We Stand on Guard by Brian K. Vaughan. This is about, this is set in like 21.
How are you? Can I just ask before you go on? How are you getting all these? Like, where's this coming from?
The library.
No, I mean, like, how are you discovering them? Like, are you working through some list? Are you working through like an author?
We Stand on Guard might be Vertigo. No,
Okay.
it's Image.
Oh, I
I
see.
think I was just looking at Brian K. Vaughan books that I hadn't read. We 3 is Grant Morrison, and it's a Vertigo title.
Okay, so
yeah.
the Death of Vertigo is the one that's kind of
That got me to get the
Okay.
We 3. We Stand on Guard is set in 2100. The United States has invaded Canada, and so we're following some Canadian freedom fighters as they stop America from stealing all their fresh water.
Okay.
It's brutal as well. And I read Descender by Jeff Lemaire. This is
I've read some of his stuff.
a future world, a sci-fi world about robots coming from the future, destroying everything, and so people destroyed all their robots. But we're following the story of Tim 21, which is a little boy companion bot made for children to be like a big brother / protector, and so it has a bit of that AI Pinocchio element to it, where the robot is more innocent than all the terrible people around him.
I see.
So.
Interesting batch of things you're reading.
Thanks, man.
Any novels? You got any novels in the pipeline?
I was reading Armor. By reading Armor, I mean I started like the prologue,
Uh-huh.
and then I just put it down.
Who's that by?
I can't remember.
Is
Jeff
it sci-fi?
Beck? Or Jeff Beck. That's not right. Isn't Jeff Beck a musician? It is sci-fi. I haven't
Okay.
read... No, I don't have a novel
All right.
at the moment.
I
gotta
wasn't
pick
trying to
something up.
shame you. I was just curious.
Last novel I finished was Girl at the... I almost said at the end of the universe. Loneliest Girl in the Universe.
Oh, yeah, I read that.
Yeah.
We should talk to the author.
Yeah, we should.
Okay.
Maybe later.
Yeah, you're right.
All right,
Why
let's
rush?
do book
Book
news.
news. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I've got some.
No, you don't.
I do.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do. Do you remember
I
a
got
while?
nothing else.
Remember a while back where they were kind of throwing shade at Tom Cruise with the Lee Child, Jack Reacher stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Well, they've inked a deal now that there's going to be an Amazon TV show, Jack Reacher,
Right.
not with Tom Cruise. So
Right.
that's going forward. I guess somebody's probably interested in this.
Who's the author again?
I don't know. Lee Child.
Yeah, Lee Child was like, finally we can get somebody who looks like
Yeah.
Jack Reacher.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, somebody that nobody's going to watch.
Right, exactly. The only reason don't put me in the position
Yeah.
to defend Tom Cruise, but let me just say the only reason that those movies got made, the only reason in any stretch of the imagination
Yeah.
that a sequel was made.
Yeah.
2 words, Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
How many words is Scientologist? A lot?
Yeah.
No, you don't want. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of words.
Okay. Anyway, so that's coming to Amazon if you happen to care about that. And then the other thing. Yes.
Go. I also have some book news.
Go
I
ahead.
meant to mention. Oh,
Take it.
well.
I was just going to go to the Booker list. So
Oh,
yeah, tell me what you got.
well. What was I about to say? The trailer for the Witcher Netflix TV show. Is out. I guess it's coming out in October or November. It looked fine, I guess.
Just fine.
I'm not. I watched it and I was not thrilled to watch the show.
I think part of it looked weird because they had to CGI off Henry Cavill's mustache.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I don't know. It's based on the books, which is why I bring it up.
Yeah.
The show, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It looks fine, but
Okay.
it could be just Netflix mediocre.
Henry Cavill made me think of Brandon Routh, which made me think of the fact that Brandon Routh is going to be playing Superman again in the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover over on the CW. Yeah. And the word is he's going to be playing the Kingdom Come version of that.
Mark Waid.
And co-written by Elliot S. Mackin. So you can listen to our interview with Elliot a while back. But so that's exciting, right? I don't know much about Kingdom Come. I've never read it.
I've read it.
Do you think I'd like it?
Maybe.
Okay.
I think it was kind of making fun of how grim and gritty 90s comics had gotten at the time.
Okay.
Like, there's a character in there called Magog, I think that was his name, who's basically drawn to resemble Cable of the X-Men, who was like the epitome of like the 90s.
Yeah.
So he's just covered in like a big helmet, shoulder pads, and guns and everything. So I think maybe you'd like that.
Okay.
So
maybe I'll check it out.
It's Alex Ross.
Alex Ross did an image of Brandon Routh as that Superman. He put out like on social media and stuff. So if you're an Alex Ross fan or a Brandon Routh fan, you could check that out.
Do you think Alex Ross just had a Brandon Routh Superman drawing just locked and loaded?
No, I don't think so. I think it's new.
Just in case.
I'm excited about that because I love Brandon Routh as Superman, so I'm excited. But that's not really book news.
Isn't he coming over to your house for Thanksgiving?
He is. We're going to spend Thanksgiving together, just me and Brandon Routh. I hope he can cook. I don't. All right, and now we're going to look at the Booker Prize. So you might be thinking, Nick, it's the Man Booker Prize. Well, that's where you're wrong, Tiger, because now
welcome to the 60s.
It's just the Booker Prize. As it happens, as we saw with the Bailey's Prize for Women's Fiction, the primary sponsors of these occasionally change, and then the name changes as well. So it's the same old Man Booker Prize you've always loved with a new, sleeker title, the Booker Prize. So here's the long list for the Booker Prize.
Nick and Eric present the awards.
So we'll follow this, and we'll tell you when it's gonna go down to the short list, and then finally we'll cover the winner as well. But here's a sneak peek at the long list for the 2019 Booker Prize: The Testaments by Margaret Atwood, Night Boat to Tangier by Kevin Barry, My Sister, the Serial Killer by Oinika Braithwaite.
That was in the Women's Choice Award?
Was it?
Nominees?
The Testament?
Didn't we? No, the My Sister, the Serial Killer. Didn't
Oh,
we
yeah, I
just
think
talk
you're
about
right.
that recently?
I think you're right. Yeah. Ducks Newburyport by Lucy Ellman. Girl, Woman, Other by Bernadine Evasarido. The Wall by John Lancaster.
It's actually by Roger Waters.
I see. Is that a Pink
Gilmore.
Floyd?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
All right.
Hey!
Yeah. The Man Who Saw Everything by Deborah Levy.
You don't want to be that guy.
Lost Children Archive by Valeria Lucelli. An Orchestra of Minorities by Chigozie Obiama. Lanny by Max Porter. Quisha by Salman Rushdie. 10 Minutes, 38 Seconds in the Strange World by Elif Shafak. And Frankenstein. Oh, let's see. Frankenstein by Jeanette by Jeanette Winterson. So that is the long list of the Booker Prize. And as I said, it'll go down to a short list down the road, and then, of course, we'll cover the winner as well. But that's where we're at right now, the old long list.
10 Minutes, 38 Seconds in this Strange World is by Viking. And so it says Viking after it.
Oh, yeah.
And it made me wish that was part of the title.
That it was a Viking.
10 Minutes, 38 Seconds in this Strange world Viking.
Like comma Viking. Like
Comma
he's
Viking.
addressing a Viking. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right. Have you read, no, you didn't read My Sister, the Serial Killer.
No, I
you
didn't.
wanted to.
Yeah.
Or
I read the winner of the Women's Prize.
Okay. You heard it here first. Nick only reads winners.
Yeah. Yep, as I'm reading like book 6 in a Star Trek trilogy
Did Margaret Atwood's new book like totally pass me by? Not that I read
Testaments?
them. Yeah, I don't remember seeing it.
I think we did
Was it
talk about
quieter?
it, but
Okay.
I don't think it was a huge splash
Yeah.
or anything. No offense to Margaret Atwood intended.
Again, Nick only reads the winners, though.
Right. Call me when you win, Marge. We haven't checked in on the old New York Times bestseller list.
That's
and-
true. In a
and
couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's
We've been
right.
all over the place. We've
We
been
have.
at fairs.
Yeah.
We've been at it sounded like there was going to be more
That's
after
it.
that.
No, I'm just desperately wishing you'd read that bestseller
that New York
list.
Times
Yeah.
bestsellers list. Okay.
Take it away.
It is nice coming back to it after so long
and go.
because things have changed.
It begins now.
I'm doing it. That was me
and
leading into
hit
it.
it.
We're here.
Engage.
Okay.
Punch it.
Thank you, Commander Pike. Number 10 on the New York Times bestsellers list for hardcover fiction is it's Mrs. Everything by Jennifer Weiner.
I think it is. Yeah.
Okay.
But let me ask you this: Is
Uh-huh.
it Mrs. as in like you're throwing a ball? Oh, she misses everything, or is it Mrs. as in MRS period?
It's Mrs. as in after he's saying like the name is Mr. Big.
Okay.
She would come and go and Mrs. Everything.
MRS.
I'm
Okay,
Mrs. Everything.
MRS period.
So I guess his name would also be Mr. Everything.
Okay.
That whole thing just fell apart once I got to the end.
Yeah.
The story of two sisters, Joe and Bethy Kaufman, and their life experiences as the world around them changes drastically from the 1950s.
Misses everything.
Welcome to the 60s.
Ooh, ooh.
Number 9. Evie Drake Starts Over by Linda Holmes. In a seaside town in
Okay,
Maine,
we got that
a
much.
former Major League pitcher and a grieving widow
Grieving widow.
assesses their past.
Oh,
That's
they
it.
just have a sit down chat.
Yeah,
about their past.
That's pitcher as in like a baseball pitcher.
Oh, okay.
and not a
it's something
not a
you'd pour
pitcher you
water
would
out of.
fill with Mountain Dew for your baseball team.
Yeah.
Like the guy throwing the
Do you
ball.
do that? Do you have baseball when you're? I mean, do you have Mountain Dew? You play baseball?
No, I mean you're a pizza party.
Oh,
probably.
okay.
Yeah.
The after.
I went to Pizza Hut. Gosh, was it yesterday?
Making it
No,
great.
it was Saturday. I
I
went
don't
to
know when
Pizza
you.
Hut.
I don't know.
I got Mountain Dew. I never get Mountain Dew unless I'm already at a place where the food I'm getting is
Yeah.
just already me saying I don't
Yeah,
care.
forget it.
So Pizza Hut, yeah, bring me a Mountain Dew. Taco Bell, yeah, I'll get that Baja Blast Mountain Dew
Would you like to hear a weird fact about me?
and Mountain Dew.
I prefer Mellow Yellow.
Whew. Number 8, Lost and Found by Danielle Steele. A photographer embarks on a road trip to reconnect with 3 men she might have married. What?
She might have married 3 men.
A photographer embarks on a road trip,
Road
to
trip.
reconnect with 3 men she might have married.
So this is a novelization of Mamma Mia.
Number 7, The Chain by Adrian McKitney. Rachel Klein is ensnared in a pay-it-forward criminal enterprise involving ransoms and kidnapping.
And Helen Hunt from the movie Pay It Forward.
Oh, yeah.
I never saw that.
What's his name?
We're not allowed to say it
No,
anymore.
the kid.
I don't know.
Haley Joel Osment.
Haley Joel Osment.
Yeah. Isn't that a sad movie?
Probably.
Not to spoil it, but doesn't he get stabbed
I don't know.
to death?
I don't know.
Okay.
Now,
Spoiler warnings for
Jeez.
2001's Pay It Forward.
Wow.
Number 6, Knife. Ooh.
God, that was a rough
lead-
transition.
Yeah, rough lead.
I'm just going to take my headphones off.
All right. Knife by Joe Nesbo. After Rackle kicks him out, Harold Hole begins anew with an Oslo police cold case office to investigate a serial rapist and a killer from his past. Boy,
These books are gritty. Let me tell you what.
Nesbo.
I know. I've only read the first one, The Bat,
Uh-huh.
and I was not for me.
Yeah.
It's not for me. They're immensely popular, though.
Mhm.
I mean, not to Michael Fassbender and his adaptation, but
Yeah. Well,
the
they
books themselves
They
are
didn't
popular.
give his last name the accent it was supposed to have.
I see.
So it was just Hole.
That'll do it.
Number 5, Backlash by Brad Thor.
Ugh.
Cut from any support, Scott Haverth
Brad
fights
Bohr.
to get his revenge.
Hate those books.
Sorry.
I've
Yeah.
tried. Lions of Lucerne. Oh, my goodness.
Hmm?
Anyway.
Okay.
Bad.
Number 4, City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert. An
City of Girls. That's all I had. I was hoping
An
to go on.
89-year-old Vivian Morris looks back at the direction her life took when she entered the 1940s New York theater scene. Number 3, Summer of '69 by Bryan Adams.
Wow.
No, by Ellen Hildebrand. We're going to see Bryan Adams.
We are. And
Technically,
will Ellen Hildebrand be there?
no, I don't think so.
Oh.
Technically, we got the tickets because I wanted to go see Billy Idol for my birthday,
Yeah.
and he's with Bryan Adams.
With Bryan Adams.
But it's starting to look likely that it's Bryan Adams' show with Billy Idol.
Wow.
And I don't think that's very nice.
No, I don't either. How do you decide that kind of thing?
I
Just
don't
like
know.
sitting in a room being like, look.
Yeah. I mean, he's got Summer of '69 and that It's Hard to Believe We're in Heaven song.
Yeah.
But then Billy Idol's got Hot in the City.
Yeah.
So,
I think Billy Idol. Maybe Bryan Adams' staying power was a little
Mhm.
longer, but I think that Billy Idol's has several iconic songs.
Yeah.
And I think Bryan Adams really only has Summer of '69.
Yeah.
Other ones are
You got
like,
that
you're
other-
like, oh yeah.
It's hard to believe we're in heaven.
Right. Yeah, but still.
May all that
If you're
I
talking
want.
about, if you're talking like iconic, I think
Right.
things like Rebel Yell and
Yeah.
White Wedding and all that stuff
Yeah.
surpass.
Yeah.
Summer
Dancing
of
with Myself
69.
is
Yeah, yeah.
maybe my favorite Billy Idol song.
Yeah.
So I think
Bryan
we should-
Adams was into The Wedding Singer, I'll tell you that.
So Summer of '69 by Ellen Hildebrand is different than the
yes.
song by Bryan Adams. The Levin family undergoes dramatic events with the son in Vietnam, a daughter in protest, and dark secrets hiding beneath the surface.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Number 2, Undercurrents by Nora Roberts.
Detective Billy Idol has to. No,
Well,
it's not.
That'd be fun.
I'd read it.
Yeah. Echoes of a violent childhood reverberate for Zane Bigelow when he starts a new family in North Carolina's Blue Ridge Mountains.
Wow. Things have gone downhill for Deuce Bigelow, it sounds like.
No, Zane Bigelow.
Zane Bigelow.
Yeah.
Okay.
This
He's
is
not,
not-
he's not using the
This
nickname
isn't
anymore.
Rob Schneider.
Oh, this isn't Rob Schneider.
No. This
Oh.
is Nora Roberts. Undercurrents.
Okay.
Yeah. You
Okay.
probably heard me say something else.
I did.
And
I
then
did
you heard
indeed.
Deuce Bigelow.
Deuce Bigelow.
Yeah.
Male gigolo.
2.
Yep. 2.
Whatever the second one was
3.
called.
I thought this was the
You
third.
thought this was the
I
third
thought this
one.
was completing the Deuce Bigelow trilogy.
Jeez.
But-
Where the Crawdads Sing is at number 1 by Delia Owens in a quiet town on the North Carolina coast in 1969.
Oh
Summer of '69.
my gosh.
By Bryan Adams.
A young Billy Idol.
A young woman who survived alone in a marsh becomes a murder suspect.
Look.
Yes.
I'm tired of hearing about this book.
Oh.
I need
don't be
to.
like
I
that.
need to read this book
Oh.
because this synopsis makes no sense to me. Like, what does that mean? A
Means at one
woman
point.
who survived, like she lived in the marsh,
Uh-huh.
and people are like, that marsh woman is a murderer.
Maybe a murder happens in
That's
the marsh.
all I have. That's
Maybe
all I
somebody
have.
finds a body in
But
a marsh.
how do you live in a marsh? Is what I want to know.
I think you're slowly sinking.
I just don't get it. Was she stranded in a marsh and then rescued, and then people were like, "There's that marsh woman."
I don't know.
I don't know. I have to read it. That's
Maybe
what I'm
she
saying.
comes from a long line of marsh dwellers.
I guess so. And that's number 1, huh?
Let's do our interview with Lauren James.
Let's do it. Hey, play that creepy music.
Oh, so creepy.
All the Books presents Author Spotlight.
Sorry, everybody. I mean, it's Ben, our musician.
Yeah.
He gives us tracks, and we don't question him. We
No, we don't.
can't.
We
We're
can't.
not allowed. It's in his contract.
It's in
He-
stone.
He has
Ironclad.
Yeah, he's got a first look deal with us
Yeah.
at any other music we bring in.
Yeah.
and then we just can't question it.
Okay.
So
So
we were pretty silly to sign that.
I think we were.
Yeah.
I think we were. Well, today we had the privilege of chatting with author Lauren James. Her book, The Loneliest Girl in the Universe, was our selection for our YA for Adults book club this year. Each year, Eric and I pick a YA book to focus on, feature, and market to adults because, as we've mentioned before, a lot of the interest in our YA collection is pretty expansive. One of the biggest ones in our system is primarily adult readers, not exclusively, but a lot of people sort of go to that. So we try with this book club to pull out something that we think will have a broad appeal and focus on that. So this year, with the space theme, A Universe of Stories, Eric settled on The Loneliest Girl in the Universe, and I'm wondering, how did you come across this book?
I just like the title.
Yeah?
I like the lonely little image. So just the one with the girl sitting at that window, looking out in space.
Yeah.
looking real lonely.
Yeah, and it's such an intriguing plot right away.
I like the whole person by themselves on a spaceship
Yeah.
concept. So
It strikes me as something that would be perfect to adapt to like a long form like podcast audio version.
Yeah.
I think that would be excellent. But anyway, we all really enjoyed
how do we get the
book.
rights?
Yeah, let's figure it out. We've all really enjoyed the book, and so we reached out to Lauren James, who was willing to sit down and chat with us. So I hope you enjoy the interview.
Today, Eric and I are joined by author Lauren James, who is the author of The Loneliest Girl in the Universe, which is our pick for our YA for Adults Sci-Fi Book Club this time around. Lauren, thanks for joining us.
No problem. I'm very excited to be on the podcast.
Great. Well, we both really enjoyed the book. I know it's been popular with our patrons as well, so we thought we'd ask you a few questions if you're game for that.
That'd be brilliant. Yeah.
Okay. Well, first of all, I just got to say, I was impressed with just the math in the book. As we learned at 7 a.m. this morning, I'm not very good at figuring out when people are supposed to talk to each other. But I was just impressed with the way you were able to keep track of, okay, this call's coming from NASA, and so it's this much time. Do you have a chart trying to keep track of all that?
I do. That was one of the hardest parts. So when I came up with the idea, I thought it was going to be a really easy book to write because it was just going to be about one girl on her own on a spaceship. I thought it would end up being very quick and fast. And then I started writing it and realized that I would have to know like all of these calculations because when you've got spaceships talking to each other, the messages are sent by laser beams traveling at the speed of light.
Right.
So you need to know how long they take to travel through space. And so I ended up having to make a 3,000 line spreadsheet to calculate on each day when a message it will leave the ships and how long it will take to get back to Earth, which could be like 8 months. And even if they reply immediately, it will take another 8 months for the reply to get back to Romy, plus like the extra time she's traveled since then. And it got very complicated. I have a master's degree in chemistry and physics, which helped a lot with that. I don't think I could have done it otherwise, but it was a lot of fun anyway, although my copy editor was not impressed when I sent over the spreadsheet to try and prove that it was right.
Yeah, well, I mean, I absolutely believe you had to have that spreadsheet because I found it really helpful just kind of looking and seeing, where everybody was because really, I mean, you have 2 and then ultimately 3 almost different timelines happening at once, because like what's happening on NASA is so far removed from everything else. So it's just a lot to keep track of.
Yeah, and really you have like different conversations happening that aren't related to each other because they're sending messages out and not getting a reply for so many months that they're almost just trying to talk to themselves.
Yeah.
So it ended up being quite an interesting way to write it.
Yeah, well, I think you did an interesting thing with that where Romy's purpose for writing was often, I don't know, it felt to me like it wasn't so much that she wanted a response. She just needed to be talking. She needed to be having that human interaction, almost more than she needed a response. Like she needed to go through that exercise of doing that normal thing.
Yeah, when I was planning it, I was wondering whether to have the spaceship have some kind of artificial intelligence, but then I thought it would take away a lot of the feeling of her being alone because she could just talk to the AI or the robots, and that would almost step in for like human interaction.
Right.
And so I had to like make a very firm decision, even though I love writing about robots and stuff, to not do it in this book because it would just undermine everything that I wanted to say. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. But, you really feel that it's heavy that she's just alone, and not just that she's alone, on a deserted island somewhere. I mean, she is more alone than anybody has ever been, and that's such a good hook to start the story, because you really sympathize with the character, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And it was definitely something that I really wanted to write about from a teenager's perspective because I think you can just feel so isolated when you're growing up and you can't relate to anyone around you. So it was very easy to get in that mindset of having her be so isolated and also be a teenage girl.
Yeah. Well, you bring up her teenageriness, and I thought that that was something that throughout I would find myself occasionally feeling really frustrated with her because I'd just be like, "Oh, that's such a stupid decision," or "You're being so naive," and it really speaks to I think how genuine she is as just this teenager who's adrift by herself. So I thought you did a really good job of capturing that. I don't know, that transition into, she's sort of forced to become an adult much sooner than she should have to. And so I thought you did a good job of balancing that tightrope act of she has all this responsibility and yet she lacks a lot of the experience and is a very naive character. So what was that like to write?
Well, it was really important to me that I had a character who had all of these, like the training and skills. So she was scientifically very proficient at what she had to do, but she didn't believe in herself. Like she didn't trust herself to be able to do anything and felt like a big imposter. And whenever it came down to an emergency situation, she could deal with it, but didn't think she could. And because when I was studying science, that was how I felt a lot of the time when I was doing science experiments and stuff, that I had all these skills, but I didn't believe in myself to do it. And I used to get really anxious about it. And the only reason I relaxed was one day we were doing an experiment and the professor told me that the science department had just bought a brand new centrifuge, which is this giant piece of equipment about the size of a fridge that you put a little vial in and it spins around like a washing machine at very high speed and separates out the molecules and you can analyze them. And it had just cost the department £30,000 and I was going to be the first person to use it and they were very proud of it. So I put my vial in it and set it off and it started spinning around and I wandered off back into the lab to do something else and I hear this big bang bang, bang,
Oh my
bang,
gosh.
and I run back, and this whole thing is shaking from side to side. And I've seen videos of these things, and when they go out of control, they can literally smash through walls.
Oh wow.
So I run in and I turn it off at the socket, and it slows down. And when I open it up, there's a massive dent inside of the metal barrel. And when something like that happens, you can't really do anything except go and tell the professor that you broke the brand new 30,000 pound centrifuge. And I was scared for weeks that I was going to be presented with a bill to pay
Oh
for
yeah.
it. And eventually I plucked up my courage and asked, like, what happened with the centrifuge? And they said it had been broken when it arrived. So it wasn't my fault.
Well,
And at that point, I just like relaxed completely about doing stuff and tried to trust myself, because things always go wrong, and like they expect things to go wrong and they're not going to blame you when it does, and you just have to react instinctively in the moment. So I tried to put a lot of those feelings from when I was at uni into Romy and how she felt about being in charge of the spaceship, and hopefully it comes across in the same way that you believe that she does have the skills, but she's also like a very young girl.
yeah.
Is there a particular challenge to writing a character who has as much anxiety as her, or suffers from panic attacks? Because that could be, depending on the level, that could be slightly crippling and cause her to maybe not act. So is there a challenge to take that and then get her to act?
I think again a lot of it was just I was putting my own experience into it, so I never really thought about it as having her like having anxiety and all of these panic attacks as like a thing until I'd finished writing it. I look back at it and I was like, yeah, she's a very anxious person. But I think it makes it more interesting, right? If a character doesn't want to do things that the plot clearly needs them to do, and they're like rebelling against it the whole time, that's just as interesting a question as an external conflict if it's all internal. So I just really leaned into that angle.
Okay. Well, it's the difference, I think, between skills which you can learn and emotional maturity which you just have to experience, and so for her
you can only get it from talking to other humans, which just can't do.
Exactly. So it creates an interesting conflict within the character that she absolutely on paper has the ability to do these things, and yet she still doesn't have that, the drive or the confidence to do them easily. So she's constantly sort of at war with herself and overcoming that.
And she has all this training in the science side of stuff, but in like the social side of stuff, she just can't understand what other people are like saying at all. She can't read subtext or look at motives behind messages. She just has no experience at it. So yeah, that was a really interesting dynamic.
Television, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Unless it's like a cliche from a sitcom, she has no chance.
Right. Well, let's talk about that, the fiction aspect of this, because Romy's fan fiction ultimately plays a pretty pivotal role in the book, and fan fiction as a medium is I think pretty important to a lot of teens, a lot of young writers. It's where they really are finding their voice and get interesting in writing, and can sort of be a form of therapy, which I think is a way in which Romy is using that as well. I mean, we even have popular works of fiction that started their lives as fan fiction. So I guess my question is, what exactly were you trying to tap into in making that, so pivotal in the story? And was that something that you had a background in? Were you a fan fiction writer?
Yeah, definitely. So I grew up on the internet. I'm 26 now, so I was like perfect time to be like the first generation doing fandom stuff on the internet. And I think it is a really big way that teenagers explore who they are for the first time, particularly their sexuality, like what they're doing online is in a very private way. They're not threatened by anything. And I wanted to look at that from the angle of like, well, actually, the internet isn't anonymous as you think, and people can look at what you're doing, and you should be a bit more careful. But also, I just thought it would be a really interesting way to have her like processing her feelings, because she doesn't have anyone to talk to. She doesn't have she could keep a diary, but I didn't want her to look too closely at her own feelings. I wanted there to be a bit of something obscuring it. So I thought having her kind of write these self-insert fan fictions where she thinks she's writing about characters, but it's very clear to the reader that what she's writing about is just the situation she is in and the circumstances of things that are happening in her life that she's trying to process through the lens of the TV show. I thought it would be an interesting way to explore her growing emotional troubles as the story goes on. Not to spoil it, but she has a hard time with it.
Well, absolutely, because it serves as a way for her to sort of externalize and get that distance to kind of work through things that, like you're saying, like she probably wouldn't be open enough, like with herself, to really like think about those things. So this I thought provided a good way for her to do that with a little bit of a safety net.
And they did, in the first draft, they got really dark. My agent had to be like, you can't go this far. You have to tone it down a bit. So, yeah, at one time, like, she was, really going for it with those. But I had to make it a bit less terrifying.
Well, that leads well into my next question. And that was, I wondered if you had any trouble, like, had you always set out to write this as a YA novel? And when you got down to writing, did you have any trouble it felt like there's so much going on that the book could have been twice as long and you would have had plenty of stuff to do. Was it challenging to get it in that form?
That is interesting because when I started it, I thought it would be a short story. I didn't think
Really?
there'd be enough story to bring it to YA length. And then like YA novels can be as short as 50,000 words anyway. So I was like, I'm just going to give it a go and see if I can get it up there and into a novel length. But then when I was writing it, I did find actually like there's a lot of story here that I could just keep going and make it even longer. But I wanted to keep it very like shocking and hard hitting. And I am writing a sequel, so I will carry on her story. But I thought it was a good place to end it there.
It does reach a good conclusion. Well,
and I think as for it being a YA book, I started writing it when I was 21, so I was really just writing it for myself. And I am still writing young adult fiction now, but I'm very interested in what young adult fiction is really, because it's such a wide category and you can get so many different genres within it that I don't really understand, even as an author of it, what it means. Because you can really deal with any content in YA if you handle it respectfully. I don't think there's any boundaries. So I don't know if I will be writing YA forever or what if it will even be called YA in a couple of years. I'm very interested to see as it evolves where it goes.
Yeah, well, we it seems like in our YA collection in our library, a lot of the biggest fans of it are adults, so it does have it's a genre that has a very broad appeal.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it does say a lot about like the internet raised generations that are coming up, that there is such a crossover in fiction and audiences are clearly looking for things in adult fiction that aren't there.
Yeah. One of the things that I really enjoyed about reading it is because you start the book and you just I didn't have a real sense of like, I don't know what my expectations were, but I didn't expect it to become the page turner that it was. And you had a similar experience, didn't you, Eric?
Yeah, this is slightly spoilery, so if you're just listening for the interview, which you haven't read The Loneliest Girl in the Universe, go do that now. It becomes a very quick read once the twist starts to happen. So you can go do that and then come back. But my question is, did you always plan on the book kind of taking the turn that it does? Because at the beginning, it seems like it's just going to be this like meditation on human loneliness and anxiety, and then it becomes almost a slasher film.
Yeah, I mean, it really becomes a thriller. I think you did too, but I buzzed through the last half of this so quickly because I was just like, what's going to happen? What's happening?
It becomes it becomes a thriller that becomes a real page turner because you as soon as you start not trusting the situation, you're just terrified of what's going to happen next, and then it becomes like this claustrophobic slasher film. So I was wondering, did you always have that intention, or maybe did you have the intention of the more horror leaning first, and then you're like, oh, I could put her on a spaceship by herself? What came first, or was it all as one at the beginning?
So I had I remember having an original image in my mind of a girl being chased around a spaceship, and sometimes she'd be running and sometimes she'd be floating and trying to drag herself through like storage boxes, because I'd read about artificial gravity, how when you have gravity being created by a centrifuge, you're going to have different amounts of force in different places. So you would be floating and sometimes you'd be running. And I thought that would be a really cool location for a horror scene, and I'd never seen it. But originally I pitched it as so it was going to be about a second spaceship coming to meet hers, and the person on board was going to be a convicted murderer. So she knew from the start that he was like a very dangerous person, and he'd been sent because like he had the death penalty and he might as well live his life in space supervising this ship instead. So originally it was going to be from the start she was very conflicted as she was getting to know this person while also knowing what an awful person they were. And then as I was writing it, I realized that it would be just a lot more shocking if she didn't know, and started pushing that twist back and back and back until I found the right place for it. And it went through a lot of my edits weren't necessarily rewriting stuff, they were just moving things around because it's in such short diary entries that you really can put them in an infinite number of orders of when things happen. And so a lot of the time was just trying to find out the right way to make it fit, where you were kept reading, but also you were surprised at the maximum moment. Yeah. So yeah, it was a bit of a challenge.
Well, it's layered in there. I think from the beginning, and even before some of the big developments come, there is just a general air of an eeriness, a spookiness to it. Due in part to her isolation, and it's just this big ship, and she keeps sort of giving you little hints, mentioning the astronauts, mentioning situations with her parents and things. And I liked as a reader the way you sort of layered those in, because I never felt impatient, like just tell me already, but I was always curious, like as that unfolded, what it could be. So I thought the layering of that worked really well.
Oh, that's good to hear, because when I was writing it, I was very worried that I was teasing things and not actually giving the reader information. And it was hard to find the line of frustrating them and intriguing them. So I'm glad it worked.
How do you balance trying to convince the reader that Jay is trustworthy while also hinting that he's not? Because my wife, she's like, at the beginning, she's like, I don't really trust this Jay. He seems too convenient. But for me, I was like, oh, I think this book is going for like a romantic comedy kind of vibe. And then I was kind of surprised. I was like, Jay, no. So how do you balance that, the hinting versus also trying to convince the author, the reader, that you're going a different direction?
It's so interesting because so many readers say both of those things. Like there's no clear way that people interpret it. Some people know immediately, and some people don't even believe it after you've been told he's bad. They think that it's going to be another twist and he'll turn out to be good. And I think
almost
it is
believed you when
the message came with the mint green wall.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, maybe he's changed his ways, and then no, he tricked her and me again.
So I think it is just down to the reader, and I think that what makes it fun. I think when I'm reading, I'm always pleased if I can guess the twist. I'm not annoyed that I've guessed it too early. I feel very proud of myself, and I feel like the writer has put in enough information to make it a puzzle that you can solve. And then when there's a twist that doesn't feel justified, that they haven't built up to, it feels like a bit of a letdown. So I don't mind when people guess it early. I think that means I've done my job as an author, that I've laid the groundwork for them to use their deductive skills.
What I think is fun about it, at the end when you're trying to figure out what's happening, is that I think most people would have a sense that something is not right.
Right.
Like, but there's a lot of fun, and I went through a lot of different things, like, well, maybe this is true and this isn't, or maybe this is really so I think there's a lot of pieces in there that you might be able to guess that something is definitely amiss, but there's options on what it exactly is. So I liked that. I thought that was fun.
It makes it hard to talk about because you really need to say nothing at all, so that you don't rule out any possibilities for the reader as what might be going on.
I'm sure that was challenging. So how did the sequel come along? Was that something that you wanted to do, or publishers requested, or how did that happen?
A bit of both.
Okay.
Immediately people were asking what happened afterwards and where Romy went next. And I obviously wanted to know as well. I was very keen to find out where she went because I had a bit of an idea, but it's not the same as writing it and
Yeah.
seeing it actually happen.
Do you have
And
a
then I got an idea, so I was like, okay, I can do this now because I know I've got like something that could happen during the story. So yeah, I'm working on the first draft at the minute.
first draft? Okay, so we're maybe a year or so away from seeing that.
Yeah, a bit of a while.
Okay.
I've got a few more books coming out before then.
Yeah, let's talk about those a little bit.
So The Quiet at the End of the World came out in the UK in March, so it's
Okay.
been out for a few months. And it's about the last boy and girl born after humans stopped being able to conceive. So they're the youngest people on the planet, and they're growing up in a community, a very small community of the last surviving people who are all about 80, so a lot older than them.
Oh.
And they grow up knowing that they're going to die quite soon, and the boy and girl are going to be left alone on Earth and watch the human race go extinct. So it's kind of a comfort read of a post-apocalyptic novel. I wanted it to feel very gentle and soft, and a really heartwarming look at humanity and the goodness of humanity in that kind of situation, because I don't believe if we could see our extinction coming over hundreds of years, we would react with panic and rioting. I think we would find a way to make the best of that situation and care for each other. And so I wanted to write about that. And so it's just about them living their lives, what they do with their days what do you do as a teenager when you know that you're going to grow up and you can't achieve anything with your life? You might as well do nothing. And how do you find a way to feel like your life is meaningful and honor all the generations that have come before you that you now represent with your life? And also about what extinction and evolution means for humans in the age of technology.
That sounds exciting. So you said that's only available in the UK at this point, right?
Yeah, so you can get it on Book Depository worldwide, and other country releases will follow. But so far, it's just out in the UK.
Okay. But you think
and-
they are lined up for a US release down the road, do you think?
I think so, but it's on such a advanced schedule that it won't be for a year or two.
I see. Okay.
Anyway, just because everything is a lot slower in America. And then I also have a novella which has just come out, which is aimed at dyslexic readers. So it's written in a dyslexia-friendly font, and
okay.
the sentence structure is designed to be very easy to read, and it's printed on thick cream paper that doesn't have any shadowing from the page before. So it's designed to be a very friendly book.
That's great.
And it's
a great idea.
aimed at a teenage audience with a reading age of 8. So it's a novella about an android and an alien on a planet that is a universal alien academy for people to come and learn, and they just go on an adventure. So it was very fun to write, very different to my other books.
And the title of that one was?
The Starlight Watchmaker.
Oh, that's okay. Sorry, that's Starlight Watchmaker.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I mean, those both sound really exciting. So I hope someday I can get copies in our library, because I definitely want to read them.
You mentioned you started writing when you were 21. Was that right?
Yeah, so I started The Loneliest Girl when I was 21, but I started my first novel, The Next Together, when I was 16, and then it got published when I was 20.
Okay, so
The Loneliest Girl in the Universe is my third book.
So you're a young writer then.
Yeah.
Do you have? Can you give advice to younger writers as well to finish a novel, to start a novel, at a younger age? When I was 15, I just dreamt like, all right, when I'm 16, I'm going to have a book published. And, I look back, I'm like, that's not reasonable. But then we meet people like you who made that a reality. So is there a piece of advice you can give?
I think I was always a really big reader. I would go to my library with like my library card, my mum's, my dad's and my brother's, and get out the maximum number of books and read them all and get some more the next week. So I was like reading everything I could get my hands on. And it did just get to the point where I wanted to read things that didn't exist. So my writing was purely selfish. I was just writing for me because I wanted to read this book. And so that really was a big motive to get to the end, because I wanted to know what happened. So I think my big advice would be to read everything, because you learn as much from bad writing as you do from good writing in terms of like what not to do. And also to make sure that you're writing a book that you are genuinely passionate about, and not just you really like the characters or you really like a sci-fi story, but that in every scene there's something that captures your imagination motivation and that you want to see on the page, because that's the only way you can get to the end, is if you are constantly writing forward to that thing that you're anticipating happening soon and you want to get to. So what I did was I went and sat in front of my bookshelves and made a list of all of my favorite things from my favorite books, and just stole them and tried to put them in as many scenes as possible. And it really was a great motivation to finish the draft. So that would be my advice.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Well, Lauren, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with us today. Like I said, we both enjoyed the book, and the early reviews from those in our book club have been really enjoying it as well. So I know we're going to have a good discussion, and I hope that you'll come back and talk to us when the sequel comes out.
Thank you so much. It's nice to be able to talk about it and actually like reveal things that happen as well.
Yeah.
Usually
Yeah.
I have to sit in a very spoiler-friendly way. So
Yes,
this is a lot of fun.
Yeah, we will. We'll make sure that people know that they should read the book first.
Yeah, that's true.
Is there a good place for people to find you online?
So I'm on Twitter at Lauren_E_James, and I'm on Instagram at Lauren Eliz James, ELIZ James.
Okay, great. Well, thanks again.
Thank you so much. This is a
you.
lot of fun.
And we're back.
She was great to chat with, so we really appreciate being able to pick her brain and talk about that. Looking forward to her upcoming books. We hope it's not too slow for them to come to the U.S. so we can have it here in our collection.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
Lauren mentioned where you can find her online, but I also wanted to mention her new podcast, Dog-Eared Pages, which you can find on SoundCloud or any of the places that you get your podcasts. You can find that. It's a podcast she does with another author, Lucy Powery, so hope you check that out and enjoy that. If you haven't read the book... you shouldn't have listened to that interview, but you still should read the book because it was a lot of fun and we really enjoyed reading it and talking to the author. It was a hit with the book club as well. So I think that's going to do it, except for some library news. You got anything
Yeah.
that you want to
Well,
mention?
at the time of recording, this is our last week of the summer reading program.
Yes, it is.
So we're almost done, but we're showing. What day is it? So we're showing on the 2nd, August 2nd. We're showing 5 Feet Apart. The one about those teenagers
with
who can't
Jughead.
get close. Yeah. But we also have 2 weeks of our summer reading program left.
It's almost prize time.
That's
it's
true.
almost time to
It's
start
almost
drawing
time to hand out
names.
the
Yeah,
prizes,
so pay attention to
I
that.
think the most popular prize right now is the one where we're giving away. It's like three young adult books. We're giving it. You get Dear Evan Hansen, the novelization.
Okay.
5 Feet Apart, the book, and I think it's The Sun Is Also a Star, the book.
Okay.
Which recently had movies.
On the other side of things, we have the Lunch on the Terrace every Tuesday, which has been hugely popular so far. We've been very fortunate with weather, so we hope that holds.
Yeah.
Farmers Market is here every Saturday. We've got Music on the Lawn every Thursday. We have our book clubs, which are currently reading House on Mango Street. We're doing a 3-part book club focusing on authors from Mexico. We're going to be meeting over at the Creative Arts Center. And then we have Shake on the Lake coming to present the...
Which is not a dance group.
It's not.
Which is
no.
what I thought
like
it was.
Shakespeare.
Yes,
Shakespeare
I get it now.
on the Lake Spear.
Yeah.
They're going to be here.
Lakespeare.
That's right. They're going to be set up Monday. The show's going to start at 6:30. You can come bring your lawn chair or whatever you want. Anytime before that, the lawn is always open. If it's rainy, we're just going to move down to the auditorium, but we're hoping that there's not going to be rain. This is a great abridged, a little bit of a modernized version of the show. So even if you're not a huge Shakespeare fan, something here to enjoy.
Did you almost say Spade Shear? Like
I think I did.
David
like
Spade
David
doing a
Spade.
Shakespeare production?
I would do that in a minute, but if you're not a huge Shakespeare fan, I still think you'll find something to enjoy here. The performances are always good, and I've heard pretty much universal praise about the Shake on the Lake performances in the past. I've never heard from somebody who was like, yeah, I went. It was terrible.
You know who that
I've
was?
never heard that.
That was David Spade because of this competing
Okay.
Shakespeare production.
You know what? My brother, Stephen, who's joined us on many episodes in the past,
Yeah.
actually saw the Perry performance of this and was very impressed with it.
Oh,
So there you go. That's one positive review so far. Hope you'll join us for Shake on the Lake. Hope you'll join us for the book club.
my past self once saw Just Shoot Me for a whole bunch of seasons with David Spade.
Isn't it just you current? It's not like a past life situation.
No.
You just watch the show.
Yeah. Once
Just
when I
Shoot
was
Me,
younger.
when you were younger.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, hope you'll join us for any and all the events going on here. Look up Lauren James online. Read this book. Read her other books. Listen to her podcast.
Keep looking to the stars.
That's right. Thanks again to Lauren James, and we'll see you next week.